Pete, one man who absolutely shines for Manchester City, although being injury prone is a real challenge for him. And it's been a shame, actually, to not see him hit the heights of previous seasons this year. Kevin De Bruyne. Is there any news, please, on his future? And of course, we know a bit like Salah, actually, his time might be coming to a close at the Etihad.
Yeah, he's in a similar situation to Mohamed Salah, probably. He's out of contract in 2025 at City. Obviously, he's had big injury problems this season, but he's come back looking fit and strong, and he's just slotted right back into what he does at Manchester City, creating assists, scoring goals, and what a lift that's been for City, I think, in recent weeks, having Kevin De Bruyne back fit. That's really boosted their bid to try and retain this treble. So I think for Manchester City, he is the highest earner at the club right now. There's inevitably going to be interest and speculation about his future from the Saudi Pro League this summer. I think it's going to be like Mohamed Salah. They are the two marquee signings that Saudi Pro League want to make. They see them as the two players who can really lift that league and show that they can sign players at the peak of their powers. So I think obviously Manchester City might have to rebuff any interest from the Saudi Pro League, but if Kevin De Bruyne can prove his fitness and stay fit, I think Manchester City will be desperate to tie him down to a new contract. He's still such a key man for them. They're a better team when Kevin De Bruyne is in that side. And they're already a brilliant team as it is without Kevin De Bruyne. But when he goes in, he just adds that X factor for me. So I think I'm sure Manchester City will probably look to this, have talks with Kevin De Bruyne over his future in the summer. And I'm sure all parties are pretty confident that they can sort out a new contract, as I'm sure Kevin De Bruyne would ideally like to stay at City as well.
If they are going to receive any offers, Pete, from Saudi Arabia or other clubs potentially, how much would they sell him for? What sort of valuation would they place on him?
Yeah, again, probably looking around that £100 million mark. We saw it last summer with the likes of Chelsea spending it on Moises Caicedo, and obviously Jack Grealish was a £100 million player when he joined from Aston Villa as well. So Kevin De Bruyne, again, due to his contract situation, some of the interested clubs might want to try and land him a bit cheaper, but I think Manchester City could easily demand £100 million plus for Kevin De Bruyne. It's just not what he brings to the team. Is obviously his experience and his know-how as well that he has. And as I said, I think Manchester City, it's not like they need the money. So I don't think they would be thinking, right, we want to sell Kevin De Bruyne. They want to keep hold of their best players, and that's why it's very hard to see Manchester City cashing in on somebody like Kevin De Bruyne, because it's not on their thinking. The only way that would change would be if Kevin De Bruyne fancied a new challenge himself, and I don't think that's the case right now as well. So, yeah, you're looking at these top players. £100 million is the going rate these days. So I think for those players like De Bruyne, you're probably looking in excess of that.
Daniel, if he was to go, would you expect sort of a like-for-like replacement to come in? Or actually, do you think Pep will believe that his squad is strong enough and won't necessarily rejuvenate in a central attacking midfield position, given as well how good Phil Foden's been?
I mean, I think to find someone who can... I mean, he certainly is up there with Salah, isn't he, in terms of that irreplaceable sort of line when it comes to Manchester City. Although, granted, City didn't do too badly without him, but they're also much better with him, as Pete was saying. So it's kind of a strange one, that. I don't think they'll sign like for like. I think they'll maybe do something similar to what I think been trying to do in the last couple of seasons, of bringing in players possibly from other Premier League teams and trying to get them to assimilate into the way that Pep wants them to play. So you look at Nunez coming in from Wolves. He maybe wasn't exactly the most City style signing, but he's come in. Maybe he's a player that they're looking at to try and fill that gap a little bit as time goes on. So I don't think they'll sign like for like, because I think it's very, very difficult to do that, and it is going to cost. I mean, if you're talking about selling De Bruyne for £100 million upwards, I think to get a player who can have that kind of impact and have that longevity as well that De Bruyne has had, I think you have to talk about paying upwards of that as well, and how many players in Europe are really truly worth that and will have that same impact. I don't think there's very many. De Bruyne, I'm less certain about him leaving this summer as compared to Salah, for example. I still think there's time there. Granted, he's only got a year and a bit to run on his contract, and don't expect Pep Guardiola to leave City just yet. Although who knows? It's been a crazy season of upheaval across the Premier League, so you never know what's going to happen. Maybe he doesn't envisage a Premier League without Jurgen Klopp, so maybe he'll walk as well. And we'll just have to see. But yeah, I don't see De Bruyne going anytime soon. I also think the fact that he's missed so much football this season might make him feel like he wants to try and get another full season out at City if he can. It just depends on how they go this season. I mean, I think it's fair to say they're probably favourites for the Champions League again, and there will be huge expectation, I think, internally to win it again and go back to back. So I think you want to be involved in that if possible, but I don't see him leaving just yet. And if he does leave, I really genuinely could bring you a name that replaces him. Certainly from a realistic standpoint of a player they could absolutely get.
And Pete, from a contract perspective, as we've always sort of said, it sounds like is likely to stay at the club. Would they reduce terms potentially? Would it be a shorter deal? Given his injury situation, actually how injury prone he is it likely they wouldn't be looking at a 3, 4, 5 year deal? Would it be a 2-year deal? What would you anticipate potentially?
Yeah, I don't think it would be as long a term a contract as a 4 or 5 year deal. He's obviously 32 now as well, Kevin De Bruyne. Obviously, the injury problems would come under consideration for Manchester City and what they want to do. But as I said, I think he's come back firing in all cylinders from that injury at the start of the season. Again, he's such a key player for Manchester City that I think they would look to extend his contract by a further 2 years or something like that to see him probably end up finishing his career at Manchester City. That would be the dream scenario probably for everybody involved if they could convince Kevin De Bruyne to end his playing days at Manchester City. And what a club legend he already is, and what a way to finish your career if you could see it out at Manchester City as well. So, as I said, I think De Bruyne is happy at Man City. City are happy with him. But things change in football. You just never know what's around the corner. Obviously, Pep Guardiola's under contract until 2025. If he was to leave, maybe that might make some Manchester City players to consider their future as well. But yeah, I think for Kevin De Bruyne and Manchester City's perspective, they would be happy to extend his contract and see him play out the remainder of his career at the Etihad.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.